Good evening. It is 6 p.m. on Thursday, September 12th, and I would like to call this information study session of the Board of Education to order. The pledge is on here, so that's okay. I guess we'll do it. Okay, we could all rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, will the clerk please call the roll?
Present. Yep, he's here.
Present.
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 Present. Thank you. Dr. Navarez Martinez and Dr. Kavanaugh did let me know that they would be absent this evening. So this is the party of 7 here. Next, I'm going to ask for a reading of the mission statement. I'm going to pick Ms. Williams this week.
Our mission statement is to provide a high-quality education in a culturally safe and nurturing environment that supports all students to live purposefully and fulfilling lives.
Thank you much. Next, I'm going to check to see if there's any additions to the agenda this evening. Seeing none. Any public comment on agenda items? There's none. Any other business deemed necessary this evening from the administration or board? Wonderful. That brings us to our information studies session presentation. I'm going to turn it over to you, Superintendent Schuldiner.
Fantastic. Well, good evening, everyone. If my wonderful executive team can come on over, I will ask that the board allow me to go be with the team. And I'm, just to preface this, is I'm really excited about this presentation. You know, one of the things that we hear from the community is, so what do you guys do all summer? And, you know, I appreciate that question because this district, more than kind of any district that I've seen, does a tremendous amount during the summer. Some of it is planning, of course, but a lot of it is about this kind of great work that we continue to do with kids. And I also want to kind of give a big shout out to the community in the sense that one of the big asks has been, you know, share with us the great work that you're doing. Let us know what you're doing because, you know, sometimes there's a disconnect in terms of the communication. And I want to thank this board specifically for really allowing us to create and have space to create these kind of great programs. So I am going to walk over there to that empty chair and then we'll kind of begin this presentation. And so we look forward to it. Thank you. Good evening, board. Nice to see your faces. What we have today is a presentation around all of the work that the district has done during the summer. So you notice that the entire executive team is here, and that's to show you how everybody on the executive team is working incredibly hard during the summer. Each one of them is going to talk about the work that they've done, the specific programs they've done, and how they've supported that work. So here is the summer review and accomplishments. We haven't done this before, but I hope that this becomes the annual September ISS. I think it's really important for everybody to know all of the great work that we're doing over the summer. So the first person I want to turn the microphone over to is our COO, Christina Slade. Might be new, different, but we really want to thank not just Christina, but her entire team. I hope that the people in Lansing have started to see the construction, the new work, all of these great things that were happening. Some of them are big, like a brand new school at Mount Hope, but a lot of them are subtle and small, but will have great impact for our children. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Christina.
Thank you, Ben. Mind if I have the clicker?
Yeah, of course.
Thanks. So the first thing I wanted to go over, just to kind of go on with what Ben said, is a lot of small projects but make a very large impact. So the first two slides, excuse me, that we're going to go over some new playgrounds that we installed. Sorry. That the board so graciously approved. So the very top picture and then the bottom right picture are the new playground and swing sets at Gardner International School. So you'll see that what we did is we put in more accessible playground equipment, both with stature as far as like how low things are to the ground, easy access, different swings for different ability-abled students. And while we were doing and putting in the new playground equipment, we made sure to remove everything that was older, metal, falling apart, wood. So all of the old structures we made sure we removed, put in new edging, all new wood chips, to make sure that these were much nicer playgrounds for our students. The bottom left is Forest View Elementary, so you'll see they're an environmental science school, so you'll see some of the little intricacies on it, like the trees on the top of the playground there to kind of just tie in with the school, and the school's colors are also green and purple. So we did a few things, neat things like that on the sites. This next slide are a few of the other ones. So your top right is Riddle Elementary. So we put in, this is one of the sites that we also put in fencing, so you're going to see them again. But one of the really cool things to point out that the school did, along with us putting in the new playground up there, are the two red benches, and those are buddy benches that a lot of our schools are starting to purchase with their school-based funds and put those in place. So those are a lot of fun. Bottom right is at Dwight Rich School of the Arts, where we have several self-contained programs with students that have IEPs. So we made sure to put in quite a bit of accessible furniture and playground equipment there as well. And then your bottom left is the brand new playground at North School. So if those of you that remember what North School had before, a very old, large wood play structure that is no longer, we have something much more new and accessible there as well. Along with that, we will be working on installing playgrounds at the rest of our schools that did not get new playgrounds this past summer. They will be getting them this spring and summer. Next, I want to go over fences. So a lot of this had to do with safety and security of our students and to clearly delineate to the community kind of where our property lines are. So your top picture is going to be Riddle, your bottom left is North, and your bottom right is Cumberland. A couple of the things I wanted to point out when we installed the fences, you'll see that we put in concrete underneath the fences. So this serves a few different purposes. One, having that extra space in there allows us to mow right up to where we need to mow without going into the fences. We don't have to worry about weed whacking, weed whipping. Lots of people have different names for it. And then you'll see the different styles of fences as well. So you'll see that we have chain link and then more of the more high-end fence. So where the chain link is usually where it's going up against where we have forest, potentially a parking lot that's not community facing. We went with the black chain link fence, and then something that's more community facing or where the students or parents see it, we went with the more high-end fence there. So that's why you're going to see the two different types of fences tied in. One thing that I did want to mention too, the community is, although we have fenced in our properties, we welcome you onto the properties to be able to use the playgrounds. Please bring your families on, use our spaces, just not during school times, obviously, while we have children there. But just because we have fences in does not mean that we do not want the community to use them. We have gates all over the property, so please feel free to come in and use them when students are not in session. The next is our newcomer center. So the board so graciously approved us purchasing what was the old Mount Hope Church in front of Gardner International School. And so we have taken the church and completely done a whole overhaul renovation on it. This is now our newcomer center. So we did all new siding, windows, flooring, paint, lighting, furniture, basically everything that you can think of. We did it. Brand new bathrooms, epoxied them, tile, installed water fountains, made this really a nice school environment for our newcomer students to get used to before transitioning into their home school. One of the other things I wanted to point out is you'll see there's lockers in the bottom right-hand corner. So we put those in so we can work with students on how to use lockers and how to get familiar with their school when they transition in. So we put in a lot of cool little bits and pieces into this smaller space to help make it easier for students when they're going to their traditional school. The next is at Hill for our CTE programming. So the top picture in the middle is our culinary arts classroom. And so that is where a lot of our students spend their time in the culinary arts program, doing their hands-on activities. On the other side of that white wall is actually, I'm going to call it the stadium, like the stadium seating area. We redid all of the floor in there as well and painted it. Your bottom left is your PCT, so patient care tech and EMT space. So you'll see that's a very large space, but they have a practical part of the classroom and then a more traditional part of the classroom, and that's why it's so large. Brand new lighting, paint, flooring, and technology, some new sinks, those types of things. And then the bottom right, I'm curious if the board has any idea what that space is.
Cafeteria?
That is the cafeteria. That is the old Oak Room. Yes, it is. It is no longer. That is the hallway, correct. That was all the whole open Oak Room. We removed the wall. Obviously, there's no more brown or sconces on the wall. It's no longer dark. It's all brand new lighting, paint, flooring, cabinetry. Removed a couple of doors that weren't necessary. So yes, that is. There was always access to the kitchen, but there were 3 doors. Now there are 2. So, yeah, we removed one. But so yes, that is the old Oak Room. So you'll see it looks nothing like what it used to look like at all. More projects to come at Hill next summer, but these are just a preview of some of the things that we did over the summer. And then obviously, you guys know more about the well-known things, the construction at Willow and Mount Hope and Pattongill, but we did want to go over some of the, I'll call smaller projects that maybe not everybody knows about. And just wanted to highlight those and thank all of the teams that worked on these over the summer. With that, I'm going to hand it back over to Ben. Oh, wait, sorry, I have one more. I lied. Gardner Pre-K, sorry, Sergio. The Gardner Pre-K classroom. So we put in 2 new Pre-K classrooms at Gardner. These are the old shop classrooms from when it was a middle school. Gardner did use those rooms as other spaces, maker spaces, and those types of things before we transitioned them into preschool classrooms. So these are rather large classrooms. These are about 1,800 square feet classrooms. So it's got plenty of space for the students to do different activities in preschool. They also have brand new bathrooms in the classroom as well, a lot of color. And then they have access out to their own sidewalk that takes them directly to their preschool, their playground. So a lot of fun work there. The kids are really enjoying it, and I think the staff are enjoying it as well.
They're new playgrounds.
Yeah, new playgrounds, exactly.
Thank you, Christina. So hopefully the board and the community can see all of the, the money and the time really spent creating wonderful physical spaces. We know research after research says, if you can give kids places that they feel comfortable in, that they have the equipment, so like that brand new culinary arts program, that they have, all the things that they need to work on. You have the PCT room where they have both the desks and chairs where they're doing their book work, but they also have enough space to do their practical, where they bring in, the plastic dummies where they can do CPR and things like that. It's really finally, as a district, taking a holistic approach to all of our space so that we're putting the right programs in the right places. So like what you saw with Gardner and the pre-K classrooms, those are the perfect spaces because they have a door that leads directly outside for play. That's really important rather than putting, let's say, classrooms in a place that are, put together. So I didn't press the button. But okay, so one of the things again that you've got with their physical space, now I want to turn it over to Sergio to talk about all of the programming we did for our special populations. Again, we have traditional programming, but we also have a lot of really special programming for our special population. So I'm going to hand the clicker to Sergio and the mic, and he's going to take it away.
Good evening. Thank you, Ben. I also want to start by thanking all the people that were part of putting these programs together and delivering the services to our community, and all the people around the table also who collaborated with us to get this done. So, the first program that I'd like to share with you is the BEST Camp. This is a program that has been going on for a couple of years, which it means the Bilingual Education Summer Tutoring Camp. This year, we had 222 multi-language learners, and they had the opportunity to continue their academic success in the math areas and the English language arts. These are students who have arrived into our community within the last 2 years. They're at some of the lower levels of English language proficiency, and this kind of program really kickstarts them for the following year. The program lasted 6 weeks, 3 days a week, and we had one lead teacher and another 13 teachers, and the RSVP foster grandparents were part of this, the Waioya youth employee, community volunteers, and below in the slide you can see the nationalities of where the people came from, which is representative of who Lansing has been welcoming in the last few years. As you can see in this slide, not only do the kids have fun, but it represents the whole spectrum from K through 12. So all kids who needed that special little help were part of this program. They also have beautiful field trips. Our next camp that we had is the Native American camp, and this is done with collaboration with the Indigenous Youth Empowerment Program. 48 students attended this camp. It was 2 weeks. It was hosted at the Welcome Center, and they went from 6 years old to 16 years of age. The Ingham County Youth Center, as you well know, has 25 students in the program, and we are responsible, and we are the ones who educate these kids. So, like every other student in this district, we wanted to make sure that they also had an opportunity to gain some skills during the summer. So we had an 8-week summer program, once again, math and English arts. I know it might sound boring, but that's what we need, okay? So it was 4 days a week for half a day, and it kept the students busy and learning. The adult education summer program also continued, knowing that the Lansing School District is basically the only district in the Michigan area, and probably farther than that, that provides adult education services. We had 101 students participate. Some was virtual, and the services that were given was English as a second language, and also GED and high school diplomas. Also in person, we provided service at the Ingham County Correctional Facility in Mason, and evening classes for English as a second language. So we were able to graduate 4 students during the summer, 2 with GEDs and 2 with high school diplomas. So nothing stopped for many people. Our wonderful Eversole Environment Education Center. Mr. Bawinski and his team were pretty busy this summer. 20 summer camps. Some were 1 day, some were 1 night, some were multiple nights, up to 5 nights. Some of the camps went to northern Michigan, some went to the UP. Basically, we provided services to 1,048 students from grade K through 12. And that's an increase of 23% from last year. So this was a very successful opportunity for our community. Some of the pictures of kids having fun, somebody catching a fish, and everybody else having a good time. The Equine Center for Learning, located right next to Beekman, also had 11 summer camps. Once again, some of the programs are half days, full days, or more than 1 day. 207 students were part of this in K through 6, and this was an increase of 67% from the previous summer. I hope you notice that that horse in the middle is not sick. It's just a therapy that we use with children sometimes, okay? And they stay like that until it starts to rain, and then they get cleaned up. The Capital Area K-12 Online and the Lansing Learning Hub. We offer the opportunity to students that were part of these programs 8-week classes. 81 students registered. 248 credit recovery classes were completed. That's an average of 3 classes per student. We graduated 3 students in the 2024 cohort, and we helped 14 students 14 students in the 2025 cohort now be on track to graduate this coming year. So this was another successful program. The Freshman Academy, also located at Pleasant View, offered 85 students the opportunity to be promoted to 9th grade. These are students that they did not pass math or English language arts in 8th grade and also had a pattern of absenteeism. Of the 85 students, 61 students were able to attend the summer program, and 41 students were able to pass the classes and do everything they were supposed to do, so they were able to go to the 9th grade and start their high school careers in their high schools. The students who did not participate or did not successfully complete the program are now enrolled in the 8.5 program at Pleasant View. The Wioya Youth Program, that's a program that located at Michigan Works. So Michigan Works hosted a work experience training, and in that training, 43 students were able to be placed in various sites through the community to work. Some of the sites were QD, and as a matter of fact, the Quality Daily hired 2 of them that are working right now. We also had Boys and Girls Club, also the Best Camp, Rich Art Studio, Global Food Markers, Mr. Leslie Cheesecakes, Southside Community Coalition, Lansing Auto Care, and Capital Area Michigan Works. These were the sites where our students were placed. In addition to that, they had workshops for GED, completed some GED testings. They also coordinated services with the food bank and did a tour at the Potter Park. Our universal preschool, our famous universal preschool, which the superintendent beat the state and made it before it became a statewide program. And during the summer, we did a lot of enrollment events. And a lot of kids and families were able to do their applications and were able to enroll in the preschools. And 25 of our preschool teachers attended a 2-week professional development for high scope curriculum. Special education summer programming. We had 24 students who attended extended school year, which was provided at Beekman and Everett. And these programs were for the severely multiple impairment, severely cognitive impairment, and ASD. We also offer compensatory education at North for 15 students. And many of the early childhood special ed staff were also trained with high scope. And at the same time, Ms. Eileen Prihora was very busy providing professional development to the staff. She provided over 100 staff members professional development during August. So that's about it for my programs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sergio. So again, you can see how many different programs we have for all of our different student populations. You know, you're talking about students that are coming to this country. You're talking about students that need some extra services. You have opportunities to go out into the woods, to work with horses. You know, one of the great things about such a large school district is that we can actually offer things that no other district around this area can. And so I hope that people that are listening and, you know, who will hopefully see this slideshow throughout the year really recognize just the panoply and the kind of myriad of options that the school district provide for our children, not just during the school year, but also during the summer. So I'm going to turn it over to Cordelia to talk about some of the great work that the Office of School Culture has done, really working with our students and really helping them move towards success.
Thank you, Ben. One of the best times for me is summer. It's because while I have a passion for direct service to students,
I don't get a chance often throughout the year to spend a lot of time with our students. Thank you, Christina. So Aim High is a summer program that allows me to touch base with kids and spend time with them on a daily basis. Aim High has been around for about 10 years. It's a 6-week program. We served 57 students. And just like the Freshman Academy, we have a very intense focus around math, English, language arts, and social emotional skills. So the social emotional learning skills is really what we hope to, by implementing those skills and teaching those skills, we hope that students are better prepared for the 9th grade. In addition to those skills, we're bringing in motivational speakers. We're taking them on field trips. They are really excited at first first of all, they don't want to go on the field trip. They're like, no, I don't want to go to Saugatuck. What's that? But a lot of our kiddos have not really spent a lot of time outside of the city of Lansing. So being able to take them on trips and introduce them to environments that they've never experienced is a joy. And once they get there, they're really excited. I wish I had put a picture up here of all the kids on the beach with, in the water. So it's just a really good time for them. Tutoring, we bring in MSU early scholars from the School of Education to support our teachers. We open up a weekly PBIS store. Students are able to earn Aim High bucks throughout the week, and then on Thursdays they're able to spend their cash. And some of them even try to save their cash. The last day of school they had so much cash until they didn't know what to do with it. We had to go get bags for them to take their items purchased home in. So that was pretty fun. We also had an end-of-year program celebration where students and families come in. We had about 30 to 40 families come in. We feed them. We gave them certificates, and they were able to leave with a box of school supplies as well as a backpack to put those supplies in. There are just a few pictures of staff and students, and this was at our end of the year program, so you can see the conference room C at the Halleck Center is full, jam-packed. So that's really exciting, and parents were so excited to be invited and participate in this celebration. Another fun thing for us is just like some of the other initiatives that we're doing around the district, such as RAVE and ALICE, we've also introduced a Behavior Threat Assessment and Management Program. We like to call it BTAM. We started this program through our STOP grant several years ago, and we're wrapping it up as of this was the wrap-up. So on July 29th and August 15th, we offered the BTAM training to about 55 staff members. And I'm happy to say that at this time, we have about 167 staff members district-wide trained in BTAM. And of course, those staff members are part of teams. So now there is a team in every school to address threats that are made by anyone, students, staff, parents, or whomever else. But it really kind of helps us with managing the threats and intervening at from an early state through the threat. It's not always that a student should be suspended from school, so the management piece is about the interventions and layers of interventions to support students. Another thing that I worked on and my team worked on this summer is for one, we purchased a program. I don't know if you all are aware of the CAS ID system. Okay, so the CAS ID system, they have various programs, and the Student Behavior Management Program is yet one more intervention that they offer, and it's around discipline and making sure that discipline is put out equitably, and the accountability piece comes around how folks are I guess dishing out the discipline, and really being able to look at how they're doing it, how many days they've been out, providing other options. There'll be drop-down boxes for them to choose from. They'll be, looking at the days, the number of days our special education students have been out of school. They'll know whether or not MDRs have been conducted, et cetera, et cetera. We've been working in collaboration with the Department of Special Education as well as the Office of Schools to talk about roles and responsibilities for those folks that have access. We're looking at a soft launch for later in the winter, but it's a custom it's customizable and is built on a flow chart on the back side around our policies, actually. So that's why our special education and Office of Schools are really involved in the building of this new program. And of course, you all have heard about our student development program, but our director of health had this program open to all students from June 10th to August 17th, and we served approximately 3,420 students, and those are students who, for instance, the numbers, it might be one student that have come every day of the week. So it's not, one single student, but yeah. And of course, they're able to offer programs such as soccer and esports and basketball and strength and conditioning. And so those kids have had fun. Obviously, almost 3,500 kids were there, so that was a good time. They even had art, which I'm really excited about. They're starting to expand their programming at the student development program. So that's about it for the Office of School Culture. While we do so many more, that's what we're going to show you tonight. Hopefully we'll have this opportunity again and we can give you some additional highlights.
Great. Thank you so much, Cordelia. Again, a lot of the work that the Office of School Culture is doing is around professional development for our staff. BTAM is really the gold standard for the best way to get adults to understand if children are going through something pretty serious, right? It's a threat assessment, and sadly in today's day and age, this is something that we have to deal with, and the school district really needs to make sure that it is supporting and training its folks to know what to look for. As we all know, things have happened in this country where students have kind of shown signs of having issues, but yet the schools didn't act. And that's why something like BTAM is so important, because you're looking at certain actions, you're then trying to take actions for that from a school district. So I really want to thank Cordelia and her team for taking that so seriously. And when you tie BTAM in with Alice and Rave and all of the other things that we're doing, we're really proud of taking safety and security very, very seriously, but also creating a loving and warm environment, so hopefully those things that have sadly happened in other places don't happen here. So of course, the Office of Schools is going to share all of the work that they did over the summer. And, I want to preface this by saying, when people think of summer school, I at least think of the Mark Harmon, Christy Alley movie, where students, go to summer school because they had failed or they had done something, whatever, and they got to make it up. But, that is part of it that Jessica's going to share. But you'll see how many different and fun activities we have for children that's just so that we can provide summer activities for children. And that's something that a school district really needs to recognize too, is that the summer is a time to continuously learn in fun and hopefully outdoor ways. And the Lansing School District really has done quite a lot of that. And you'll see that from Jessica's presentation. So let me give her the mic.
All right, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here tonight to really represent the hard work of our principals. We've had a huge shift in summer school over the last 3 to 4 years in that we have moved all of the monies for summer school away from centralization at least for our elementary and high schools, and really in the hands of our principals. So that's what you're going to see this evening. The rationale behind that really is the board knows we had a declining enrollment for summer school. And so we needed to figure out a way to increase enrollment back, and we know the way to do that is through relationships. So by turning the money over to the principals and having them plan the summer schools that's really specific to their students' needs, timelines, activities, and of course then their own teachers will be there, the students that they know, their friends from their classroom will be there, we really did see an increase in the enrollment, so that was a huge success. So though these are my slides to present, they are the work of the principals that you're going to see here this evening. So we'll start with the elementary summer school programs. We had programs at 11 of our elementary schools. We actually had 12 programs, which we'll talk a little bit about more in the next slide. It spanned grades kindergarten through 8th grade, so every grade in our elementary schools, and of course we had our preschool with our special populations. And then we have our areas of instruction, which were ELA, math, and Mandarin, because we have our Post Oak School, and that was how Jill Kolar, she did a dual camp, and one of them was for Mandarin. So it was pretty great to be able to see how each unique principal created their own summer academies. We did have 348 students district-wide in attendance just in the elementary schools alone. And you can see their wonderful little faces and their teachers at the bottom of the screen. So we are really pleased that the staff really has taken the time to embrace summer school, wanting to spend that time with the children in their homeschool settings. Here are some of the programs that we had along with the enrollment. So from Averill to Willow, we had schools, and of course I mentioned Post Oak carried on two different sessions, one that covered ELA and math, and one for Mandarin. North School has a missing number. We wanted to make sure we captured the right grade levels, and I was able to get that before I came here tonight. That was grades 2 through 7 for North School. But ELA and math, and who can't just look at those cute faces, right? It's great. We also have summer school at our high schools. We actually have found that the high school was where credit recovery really works in the summertime. We did not want to mess with that. The high school principals really kept the formula that they've kept year in and year out because it has been a successful program, so why would we change it? There were 2 4-week sessions during the summer from June to August. It really kept them from the week after school to the week before school, so if they were interested, they could really maximize their time to do credit recovery. We did follow the credit recovery model through Edgenuity, and we also have teachers that are skilled and accredited in those areas to be able to support students one-on-one through that time. Also, we have SSSs during that camp and counselors, so it's really a full-service high school camp, which is really wonderful. We did serve breakfast and lunch. We also offered bus passes to all of our students like we do during the school year so they can come and go, and also gave them an opportunity to get back on track for graduation and also increase their athletic eligibility. So let's take a look at how successful this was. So for summer school at our high schools, of course, we had Eastern, Everett, and Sexton. You might be wondering about the Lansing Tech, as that is one of our high schools. They were able to utilize the summer school because it is such a much smaller program at Eastern, Everett, and Sexton. So I didn't want you to think we left them out. They are captured in these numbers. So for Eastern, Everett, and Sexton, we had a total of 624 students enrolled in the program for session 1 and 2 combined. So there can be some duplicates there of students. And then we have the students with recovered classes, 350, and it shows at each of our high schools, with a total classes completed of 995 during the summertime, which means we had 8 students that were actually able to graduate, which is really wonderful. Next, we also had PD offerings, just like Sergio talked about in his department, and also Cordelia. We have a big responsibility in the Office of Schools to make sure that we're ready to teach our students and that we're really making sure that all of our administrators, teachers, secretaries, and assistants have proper training. This number that we have here of the 20 professional development offerings did not include this various school professional developments that also happened this summertime. There were quite a few that schools put on for their staffs or even paired up with school to offer professional development. Topics for this included our ELA curriculum training for K-12. We did intervention programs, CPI, which is our crisis prevention and intervention trainings. We had reading apprenticeship, MSU emerging leaders, EL and SE specific trainings, equity in education, various speakers, and in-depth retreats, just to name a few. We had over 919 staff members that were in attendance. On the left, you will see right here where we're sitting this evening in the Sexton cafeteria, that actually is our new teachers at professional training, so our first year in Lansing School District. It was wonderful to be able to welcome them and provide them with professional development. And then on the right, you'll see our administrators in our retreat. So it was a busy summer for the Office of Schools, and I think it really set up not only our students but our staff for success. And we really could not do this without our community partners, so we'll end with them. We had 5 students from Lansing Technical High School that interned with Mr. Marcus Leslie at his local business for Mr. Leslie's Cheesecakes this summer. What was really neat is they not only learned about how to run a small business, so it wasn't just about making cheesecakes, but about taking inventory and what it takes to run a business. They actually even got to come up with their own new cheesecake flavor and take it to the farmer's market. If you were curious like executive team was, we had to know what the flavor was, and it makes a lot of sense. It was cookies and cream. So I can see a high school student absolutely coming up with that flavor. We had UMP, the United Mentoring Program, operated by Carrie Smith and Tracy Edmonds, who provided mentoring to our students at Sexton. We had Streets 517 that worked with Lansing Learning Hub this summer, which is operated by Patrick Sauer. That was wonderful, working on social emotional learning activities with our students and mentoring. And then we had Keeping It Real with Phyllis Manuel, who offered mentoring services at our Student Development Center. So again, a very busy summer. Everyone from our schools to our parents and students and our community really were able to make it a successful time.
Thank you so much, Jessica. And again, you know, what you saw is great services for our children, but also professional development for our staff. And a big shout out to all of the teachers and administrators that spent their time over the summer really trying to better themselves, right? We're a learning institution. Nobody isn't wanting to be or shouldn't think of themselves as a consistent learner. We can always get better, we can always do more, and what was really powerful about this summer, especially with our new curriculum and some of our new programs, is so many, hundreds and hundreds of our staff were able to spend some time learning new skills, learning new activities, and then kind of having this new knowledge around this the work that we're doing. And again, you know, you see this list. You know, the community partners that we've been able to open this district up to have really come to serve our children well, and we thank them for all of that. And, you know, in the traditional look of summer school, you did see hundreds of kids get hundreds of credits. You know, sometimes summer school is a good time to make up the credits, and so our kids have done that. And, you know, one of the really powerful things about getting back on track is that those students then are able to be in their grade appropriate places. They're able to be eligible for sports. They're able to be eligible for our programming. And so I want to commend all of the students that were able to go to school in the summer and get their credit. Now, you might say, well, we do have a budget office. Kim is a great member of the ET, but what does the budget, you know, folks do during the summer? You know, they're not out there teaching English. But one of the things that I really wanted to highlight is how many different and creative ways we fund these programs. What you've seen here, and one of the things that Jess and I were talking about in our meeting this morning, is how many more students are involved in our summer program now than have ever been before. Well, if you're having lots more, hundreds more kids involved, you got to figure out how are you going to pay for it? And so we really are thankful for the Office of Budget to be creative and see all of the different kinds of monies that come into districts that we can use for the summer programming. So with that, I'm going to turn the clicker over to Kim to talk about our Office of Finance and Budget Support for the summer.
Thank you, Ben. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to discuss 3 of our major funding streams that helped cover the costs for our summer program. The first one is the Regional Assistance Grant. We were awarded $353,000, and it covered the summer period from June through August. Some of the elementary school programs that this money funded was North Wexford, Dwight Rich, Geyer Park, Lyons, Averill, Sheridan Road, and Mount Hope. The money was used primarily for staffing and transportation. We also were awarded the 23G Michigan Kids Back on Track. We were awarded $1.5 million, and it is retroactive back to October of 2023. We used it for this summer, and we'll use it for next summer's summer school. We used it for staffing, training, curriculum needs, transportation, technology, and materials. The last major funding stream is our 31A at-risk money. We allocated $580,000 to help cover summer programs. And again, the grant period was for summer from June through August. And this helped fund summer school programs at Willow and Post Oak, as well as bridge programs at Eastern, Everett, and Sexton. Was used primarily for staffing, transportation, materials, refreshments, and our community partners. Our summer school spending from these 3 funding sources: for the Regional Assistance Grant, we spent $184,000. From the 23G, we spent $812,000. And from 31A at-risk, $244,000, for a little over $1.2 million spent from June through August. Total enrolled students, 2,721, which means that was a per pupil amount of $456 per child.
Right. So one of the things about that last slide that's really so powerful is that we've spent about $1.2 million in summer school, 1.25, and we were able to serve 2,721 kids for an average of about $450 a kid. But one of the things that's been really interesting looking at this district over the years is that we have spent money on summer school, but we weren't able to serve as many kids. So even though we might have been spending, let's say, $1 million, we were only serving 500 kids, which is ridiculous. And so one of the things that we're really proud of, and all 5 of the people on the board could say this, is we were able to find good money, but we were able to find the programs that kids wanted. So, one of the things that Jessica really pointed out, and this is why school-based budgeting is so powerful, is you say to the schools, look, we'll give you the money, you know where the kids are, find great fun programs, bring those kids in. And so rather than the district just say, well, we'll have some teachers in a room, send your kids, we spent almost the same amount of money, but we didn't serve anywhere near the same amount of kids. And so now these kinds of programs that we're doing are really so much more supportive of our entire families, our entire kids. And so I really am very, very proud of all 5 of these folks at the dais here. They have, as a unit, really realized that summer can be positive. It can be a great time to do things, everything from build new, playgrounds to have, I guess they were, I don't know, putting chalk on horses, I don't know. But they were happy. The kids are out there, they're learning, they're getting credits, even having 8 of the kids graduate through the summer programs and another 4 through some of the special population programs. This is a really powerful thing, and I hope that certainly the board recognizes and the folks at home recognize that, during the summer, this district is vibrant, it's alive, it's doing a lot of really, really great things, and something that we should be really proud of. So I thank the board for really having belief and faith in allowing us to do a lot of these programs, because the truth is a lot of school districts around the country don't do this. They kind of shut down, They let the kids do their thing, and then they come back. Here, we're able to have some very, very powerful programs to serve our community better. So with that, I want to say thank you and certainly open it up to the president and the board for any questions.
Thank you. I do have a couple questions. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to go first, and I'll open it up to my colleagues. I really appreciate just piggybacking on exactly what you were saying, Superintendent Schuldiner, about being more strategic about how we're investing the dollars instead of just saying, oh, we spent this much money in summer programs. Okay, what does that mean? And I know one of the goals in the other programs, we want the right return on investment. But the issue we have been trying to tackle is summer slide and supporting youth and and students and how we are making sure they are progressing. So I want to start with going to you, Mr. Keck, with some questions from the Department of Special Populations. So for your program, you shared with us about Freshman Academy. And so I'm curious what we are going to be doing longitudinally to track to see how well it worked, if you will, right? So there's some information you gave us right away, right? So we invited 85 students, 61 of them participated. Out of the 61, 41 of them completed. So 41 of them are going to successfully enter ninth grade, or already started ninth grade a couple weeks ago. And then the remaining students more than likely went to the 8.5 program. Great. What are we doing to track to see, like, does it matter that these kids went to this program? Are we making sure they make it to 10th grade? Are we going to track them through till they graduate? What's our plan there?
Microphone in the middle between the superintendent
I'm
and
happy
I.
to answer too.
But the students that are going to the 8.5 program, the criteria of what they're supposed to do when they're there, besides the social and emotional support that provided, is they must pass 8th grade English language arts, 8th grade math. They must complete the first semester of Algebra 1A and also the first semester of English 9th. So with that foundation, we believe that the students, when they go back into their high schools, are going to be successful. Now, as far as tracking them, this is the second year that we've done this, so we have a little bit of data that we can look into for last year's and see how we're doing, but that's a great question. It's great to find out how they're doing.
Yeah, no, I mean, one of the great things about this program is that we actually have students that we can kind of see how they're doing, successfully. But what's been great is the students that have been able to get their credits, and they have to show that they have the skills necessary to get to ninth grade. And so we have seen those students do better. We have seen a big change, actually. We'll share count numbers, probably in a month, but what we're seeing is the kids that are actually enrolling in ninth grade are going to school in ninth grade. One of the things that this district's had over the years is kids in 8th grade just automatically rolled into ninth grade, and we lost a lot of those kids. Those kids didn't graduate, they didn't even go to school, and so what we're seeing now just in this brief window with count is the kids that are actually enrolled in ninth grade are showing up to school. That's a huge indication that by creating these kinds of programs, the freshman academies, the 8.5s, is that we're saying, look, high school is a big deal. Going from junior high school to high school is a huge change. We want to make sure that you're ready. And so now those students that are actually enrolling in ninth grade are showing up. How they're doing, I'll let you know. It's just week 4,
Absolutely.
right? But it's a
Right.
great question, and I think we can actually hopefully present something maybe at the end of the year to
Yeah.
show you if this has worked or not. So it's great.
And to keep track of it, right? So like I know we have to be both financial good stewards, but I mean, if educating these 61 kids means 61 more kids, I don't care how much it costs, if it means those 61 kids can graduate, right, on time. So I'm just curious what our plan is for that. So that was my first question, and then contrast to that, going to our Office of Schools, Ms. Benavides, I really like the idea of talking about having that real-life connection with the students so that the schools are tailoring their summer school programs to their population. I love that. But I think that might be contrasting to what we have for the Freshman Academy, because at Freshman Academy, the requirements are the same across for everybody to be in the Freshman Academy. When we try to look longitudinally to see how summer school's working, if every school does it too differently, then we won't necessarily have standard and criteria for why the students enrolled. We will be able to standardize how well they do, right, if we have attrition, but I don't know if we have any standard for what made us enroll them. And I'm just curious if we at least have, as a district, could identify, like, this is your base. At minimum, students who identify in this area should be in criteria, and then build however you want to do it around that.
Thank you. So one of the things that we did for the Office of our Instructional Division is we worked with the principals to identify, using their NWEA scores, which students should be attending the various camps. Now, some of our principals also decided to do some fun weeks that everyone was just invited, right? Because we also want to keep it so that it's welcoming for all of our students, but the majority of our students were identified through NWEA. And then our instructional division also helped the schools also with Freshman Academy and Aim High Academy. They used a standardized curriculum. And so there were opportunities for leveled readers and math intervention that was more hands-on. We really moved away from the previous summer at Freshman Academy and at our Aim High camp. We used a virtual program the summer before last, and we really did not feel like that was a great way to go about it. So this past summer we used a program called Rewards, which is really teacher interactive. It's lessons like you would see in a traditional school, lessons being taught, work, actual paper, pencil, those kind of things. And then we've used Moving with Math as our summer math program, which is extremely hands-on. There's manipulatives, there's a pre and post test, so we actually can see from the beginning of summer till the end of the summer how the skills actually improved in the various standards that we tried to tackle by using our NWEA data.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then I have one question that can totally be answered later, which was just, so we saw for summer school there was 348 attendees. I'm just curious how many were offered the chance to come.
So I think that I actually don't know because it was principal directed. One piece of data that I did share with the executive team this morning, as you all know, or many of you know, I ran the summer school programs district-wide probably about 4 years ago, and prior to that as the school improvement director. One of the things that I can tell you that was super exciting about seeing our per pupil count was when we were really struggling with summer school enrollment, I remember coming to the board and the budget was about $899,000. It was a lot of money that we were spending mostly through 31A carryover funds. And I remember doing the per pupil calculation during that time, and it was $10,000 per pupil that we were spending.
By time you divide,
Yes, and so what's amazing about it is that though we see this enrollment numbers, just how far the district has come by changing the strategies of really going across departments and really pushing the money back to schools for elementary and secondary. But that's a really proud moment, at least I feel like, for the district, that we went from a $10,000 per pupil now to the $456,000. So I do want to point that out because I do think that's a huge accomplishment. And just the number of students that we're servicing and also how much better we're using our funding. So just wanted to point that out.
And that's awesome. And it's possible that students were, just like how in the student development program, it's not the unique number. They could have gone to Ebersol and Student Development Center and their summer, so it's possible that dollar went even further. So that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for indulging me. Mr. Krim.
Thank you guys for coming and presenting on this. Couple questions, or first, not really a question, the first one, but amazing job at Hill. I know those ones especially pictured here were ones that staff and students have brought up areas that they, concerns, and to see the improvements that we've made and committed to these students and staff members is amazing, especially the kitchen, because I remember I walked in there, it was a little crowded, and now to see how it looks is phenomenal. I can't wait to go check it out. So thank you guys for that. Next question I had, where were we? Oh, for the summer schools. My question was a little taken, but for the students that we identified that did complete the course, kind of in line with about tracking them, do we offer, or do we know of if we've, notified principals or maybe their advisors or the dean to have possible check-in points with the students to ensure that they're staying on track, staying focused, and that we are offering those, areas of, allowing them to see what tutorings they have offerings and stuff like that?
Oh, there we go again. It's like the mute when you're, or the, when you're muted for Zoom during COVID. That's what this reminds me of. It's bringing back PTSD. So I'll answer that question in that I actually sat with Eastern during the time that they were doing this, although it happens both at Everett and Sexton, so I don't want to make it sound like it's just one school. But they actually get all of the names of all of the students that are in the programs that happen for Freshman Academy and AIM High, which are 8th graders that are needing that support, and they tailor their schedules, their programs, even with UMP and Streets 517. Many times they're even assigned mentors right from the get-go for being a freshman. So yes, they actually track those exact students and make sure that they're keeping track of pulling their data regularly to make sure that they stay on track. I think that was one of the most important things about having this 8th grade into 9th grade program is when you get into high school and you start to get in deficit credits, then you feel like there's a whole sense of, oh, I'm not going to be able to complete what's happening. I feel behind. I'm not with my peers. So having this 8th grade summer program really helps us to make sure that when our freshmen come in, they stay on track. And so the schools, I was with Miss Bates, the AP at Eastern, and she had the list, and she's going through, and she's assigning them their counselors, and she had copious notes about their scores and what they passed in the summertime and which teachers they should have. So it was really neat to kind of see that in the works. Instead of just hearing about it, I actually got to see it kind of happen in action. So the answer is yes.
Yeah, I really appreciate the question because, what you do in the summer, if the people who service those kids during the school year don't know, what's the point, right? And so I think the district's done, and the high schools particularly have done a really good job being able to track that. One thing we didn't actually talk about here, but I want to highlight is the high schools, I think for the first time in a long time, had a summer bridge program. And so that was really cool. In fact, I was just talking to a parent who also might have used to be a school board member, and she was saying how thrilled she was with her child going to the summer bridge program because her child was actually pretty nervous, which I understand, right? And so there's a really nice thing that our families are starting to see that we're doing all of these supports to help our folks kind of be there, at these schools. Our high schools are big, right? I mean, they're not as big as I think some people remember, but like, if you walk into a school of 1,000 kids, that's a lot, and so the schools are really being very pointed around the individual kids and seeing what they need. So I appreciate the question, and I really appreciate the high school staff for being, even though they're big schools, each and every kid is being supported.
Awesome, thank you. Last question I had was the high school summer schools, it said the focus is credit recovery model. I just have a question. I'm not sure if it's how this would work out or feasibility, but do we offer the chance or opportunity for students to achieve credits at accelerated paces so they can graduate earlier?
Oh.
Yeah, so, it's a great question. Not yet, but we probably should, right? I mean, I think that there are ways, and there are a couple of times that we do that. You can take certain online courses, you can take certain exams, there's things like that, but our high school, summer school hasn't yet really focused on that, but it's something that we have considered. I mean, the reason why both Sergio and Jess were laughing is that we've talked about this quite often, and I think, to be honest, and, I think, the community can hear this, is for so long, this district has focused on trying to make sure that the kids can graduate, that they can kind of make up the deficit, which is important. But I think we're finally at a place as a district as we can start to think about those enrichments. Now, we have a lot of enrichment programs, all of those things at Ebersol and whatever, but we haven't really thought about you want to get ahead, you want to skip a grade, you want to do some work. One thing pedagogically that I do have an issue with is, so, you're a motivated kid, you want to take Algebra 2 in the summer because you want to get ahead. My thought is, if you're really getting ahead, I want you to be in front of a teacher. I want you to be learning this lesson from our great educators. The only way that you could really do the enrichment stuff for a kind of extra time is you're going to do it online. And I'm not necessarily sure that's the right answer, but I do think that we could have enrichment programs. I don't know if we want to have enrichment courses where you're getting full year credit by just plugging in. The reason why credit recovery is so good is that this is a kid who was, hopefully, in class, and for whatever reason, they didn't get their 65 or they didn't get their pass. But they sat there, they were learning, they were doing some work. They just didn't finish it. So now the credit recovery model says, hey, look, you did the class, you just didn't pass. Well, let's work on the work that you need to do in order to pass. Going to the advanced stuff, you would have to start from scratch because you've never done that before. So this is a long pedagogical conversation, which because I'm a big dork, I'm happy to have, but I think there's some concerns about like offering a calculus class in the summer. The only way you're really going to do that is online, and I'd rather have our teachers do that. But I do see enrichment programming is something we should probably invest in, and I hope, and certainly Jessica can hear me say this, I'd like to believe that next year you'll see probably 2 more slides on enrichment activities rather than just recovery activities.
Awesome, thank you. Oh, I did have one more question that came to me. So for the summer programs, I see that we had, students that interned with Mr. Leslie's Cheesecakes. Thank you. Shout out to Mr. Leslie's Cheesecakes. They are amazing. Are there any other, internship programs maybe that Hale offers to get the construction program or other, other programs there offering the experience in the work field?
Just one to mention through WIOA is we had Cadence Jackson, so one of the student at Sexton High School is a senior this year that helped us get a grant this past year that we did. She actually interned in our office, in the operations office, over the entire summer to help us develop a recycling program and a student involvement program. So we also worked with her to do that, and I know that now I believe she is interning with the communications office, so we're continuing that because she likes to reach out for social media for these purposes as well. Then I think we have additional ones through Sergio.
Yeah, one of the things, and we talked about it briefly but didn't list it, is through WIOA, that's kind of what they do. So we actually have multiple programs where children are doing internships. What I look forward to is through the Lansing Tech, all 4 of those programs then leading towards it. 9th graders, there's some issues about OSHA and things like that in terms of what physical things they can do, but we're really looking forward to it. And Sergio was there. A big shout out last night is our health science program actually had a big event with U of M Sparrow, where the head of Sparrow and the chief medical officer, all of those people were there, and different tables were about jobs and that where these kids can intern and work at. So the WIOA program really does a lot of that, and then as the Lansing Tech kids get older, they're going to have opportunities to do all sorts of internships. But I don't know if there's anything.
No, but real quick, Mr. Curry Milo, who was running the WIOA Youth Program, now he's the Director of Alternative Education. So he's linking the WIOA Youth Program, which pays for placing students in opportunities to have work experience. He's going to be connecting that with the Learning Hub and the online students, and the whole area of the district is being developed, including Lansing Tech.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Lopez?
On the elementary summer school programs, you had very small numbers in each of the schools. So, but you had the program at the school anyway. And how does that work out? You have a whole building for 15 students. Does that make sense, or could we do it differently?
That is a great question. So because we left it up to the principals, right, they had their set budgets, they invited the students. Some did not have as much enrollment as they would have liked. So I don't think it's for trying. I do think that some of them did have very small intervention programs because they tailored the program to what they wanted it to be. How this worked this year was each of the schools turned in a proposal. They said, this is what we want to do for summer school, this is how many teachers, how many students, and we approved their budgets, and off and away they went. So for some of them, their numbers are small this year. Some was because they only wanted to do a small program with that intervention group. Other schools wanted to really go with more than that. We did have, at some of our schools, staffing was challenging. Teachers wanted to say, I'd like to unplug for the summer, and so staffing was, at some of our sites, they were not able to get as many teachers to come into summer school as they wanted. And so they did run, some of them said, we're still gonna run it with a small number of students, and we'll adjust as we need to do that. But the postings were district-wide. I just want to be clear about that too, so that it was not specific that only that school could have teachers come.
Yeah, well,
One of the things I want to add is I really appreciate the idea of like, well, look, you've got 15 kids in one school and 15 kids in another. Why wouldn't you just have them go to one school and save the money? The reason why we didn't do that is when we've done that before, the kids just didn't come. So when we had these, and that's why, you know, that number that Jess was giving you, we used to spend about the same money and get many, many fewer children. And that it's actually, if you have a group of 15 in one school and 15 in another and 15 in another, you're serving those 45. What we found is if we just had that one place, these kids from the other schools just didn't come. And so it was actually worth the money, and in fact the per pupil dropped exponentially because we're able to serve so many. And also, you know, the light bill, the electric bill, things like that, the buildings kind of be open anyway. We're doing cleaning and deep cleaning, so you didn't really waste a lot of money. But what was really nice is we could tailor the program to the specific kids. So yeah, you saw that there was only 15 in one group, but that was 15 with one teacher for a lot of days. Those kids got some really intense work, and that might have been because the program that the school wanted was just for those kids. So yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, why don't we just put them in one building, sit? Turns out when you do that, they just don't come. And so that's why we did it.
no, they feel comfortable
Yeah.
in their house.
Exactly.
Yeah. One other thing that was mentioned is for next year, doing some enrichment programs,
Yeah.
like music, for example.
You know,
you
I mean,
know-
I think that's a great idea. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, we have some enrichment programs like that, but we haven't, you know, so for instance, sometimes the bands will go up to Ebersol. We do that, but I don't know if we have a kind of district-wide music program over the summer. That's something we could really look into.
Well, or if the principal wants to have a music program,
Yeah.
because we need to start, you know, that music program again. And I think
Yep, absolutely.
in the summer, if we put together, you know, however many weeks, but
Yeah.
concentrated on learning music, you know, reading music and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, the high school bands will do stuff over the summer, but, you know, as we've been talking, the reason why we have a director of enrichment is that we really need to do more at the elementary level and the junior high school level. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and just, how many credits do we need to graduate from Lansing schools? Remind me.
So the state law is 18, and
Yeah.
that we have for our alternative ed, so that's the hub, and for the online. Our traditional high schools are 22, and so that is with electives and stuff like that. And then the board is allowed to, through me or your own direct vote, is that you can actually adjust it all the way down to 18. But we have the 22, the 18, and there's stuff in the middle. But I don't know. I mean, I can go on, but that's your that's the answer. And I want to. I mean, what I will say is I'm very appreciative of Lansing for having a higher standard. You know, sometimes people will say, oh, you know, I mean, Look, our graduation rate has gone from 62 to 85 plus. It's been amazing, 23% in just 3 years. And I know there's some people out there that say, oh, you're just juicing the books, you're just making it up. And the truth is, not only are we not doing that, but we actually hold ourselves to a higher standard than we even have to by having those 22 credits. And that's really awesome that we're able to do that and now graduate 85+% of our kids.
Oh, thank you for the presentation. Appreciate it.
Dr. Rodriguez?
Thank you very, very much. Not only I recognize all the work done by the district, I also congratulate you. A few years ago, I published an article called Summertime is an Opportunity for Continual Learning. And that's what we did. I don't want to go to the last point about how many credits we need to our students have to have. I think we need to go back and see if we have any policies that require our students to have so many credits to graduate. I think that is something the board has to check, or just to have the policy that we go along with what we are here today. One of the things I'm really pleased is this elementary schools, that they receive some grants, or you gave them the money. What happened to the other elementary schools? Why this one receive the money and not the other ones?
So some of our schools that you did not see that had summer schools, they did a couple of things. One, they partnered with a school that was on the list. So where that was located was where you saw. The second thing is they invested in, during school time, Saturday schools. We had a couple of schools run Saturday schools through the school year, and after school tutoring. And so they chose to use the money during the school year versus during the summertime. And so that was where you didn't see, I think there's about 5 or 6 schools that were not listed. So they either partnered with another school, or they chose to use their money during the school year for tutoring and Saturday schools. So that was their options. If we did have parents at those schools that did not offer summer schools, we did offer the other sites for them to be able to go to. So if you were at a school like Atwood, for example, which was not on the list, we did offer the other school sites to say if you'd like to go, you're welcome to attend one of the other schools during that summertime.
Do we have a plan maybe to extend to all schools? That is
Sure.
my question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Then we didn't mention parents' communication, how we spend this learning process with the parents during the summer. Because we cannot start in September with the parents and then in June and then start again in September.
Yeah.
When we have 3 months, then we need to communicate to parents because learning is for everybody.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think so much of what we learned this summer and last summer is when these programs are done by the school, they communicate with the parents, and the parents pick up the phone. Like these are where their kids are, and I'll tell you with these K-8s, now, families are with these schools for 9 years. They know the building, they know what's going on, and so the communication, rather than being done by Central, is being done by the schools, and that's why you see so many more students participate than previously. Now, can we always do a better job? Absolutely, and I think our hope now with summer school, especially because we have the 23G grant, which is a 2-year grant, so we know the money's going to be there, is can we communicate even earlier? Can we start programming in May or even in April to get those families to know what's going on? In addition, we have to do a better job with communicating during the summer about these things. But again, because it's being done by the school, they have much more direct access to the families, and I think that's why you see more families send their kids.
I think that is a great answer too. Thank you. I remember the one school years back didn't fail any student, didn't give any E. We gave the students I's, incomplete work, and they completed work during the summer. And that was a way to have the families and the students come to the school during the summer, because no failing, but you had to feel the rest of the time, the few hours or that you lost during the school time, you come to the summer. That is why I started congratulating and thank you, because we have so much to do. It's incredible that they were talking all year long education, and that is what we should go for. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Mr. Nowinski?
Thank you. My son was able to attend one of the equine learning day camps and loved it so much that he's now a herd volunteer here, taking manure up every Tuesday. So if you can convince a second grader to do that, you're doing something. I wanted to ask, some of the programs I know like Ebersol and those have capacity limits, and I think we're filled up. Is there anything that the board could do from a funding or whatever perspective, or the community could help with from a volunteer perspective to assist with staffing that could maybe allow us to get past our current capacity limits on those programs?
It's a great question, and thank you for sharing about your family. Sometimes space is just limited because of the physical space, but I would say, there are things that the board and just volunteers can do to help support our children in all sorts of ways. And I think because this summer was really so much more successful than we've been in years, we've been doing a lot of analysis, and we're going to see what were the programs that people really liked, and can we increase them. So, Ebersol, each of the bands usually get a week, they do certain things. So there's a pretty tight time limit, but something like the equine program, I think we probably could expand, but, we'll certainly talk about that. But, all I ask of the board is just continue to support us the way that you've been. The budget is there. We just have to make sure. And if you ever want to volunteer at any of these programs, we would love to have you. So.
Thinking about all the programs overall, I mentioned some of the programs didn't get the enrollment that they wanted. Is there any look at equity lens on this as to who participated, who didn't? Have we maybe identified barriers that we could be addressing? I know you offer transportation, a lot of things, but is there anything from that lens that we're seeing maybe the students from a particular gender, ethnicity aren't participating for some reason that we need to find out about?
I can't speak to specifics on that, but I do know that the principals, because we do our EduStat meetings, and so that I know how, because we talked a lot about what summer programs are you offering, how is your enrollment going, those kind of things, that the principals did, and many of the schools take the time to call each of the families directly, and many of them said, oh, we already have things planned for the summer. So some of it is just, my child needs a summer off, that they want to take the time for their kids to just kind of be kids and not attend school. So I do know that anecdotally, at least, the principals did kind of collect, we sent out 60 invitations, here's how many we had, and here were some of the reasons why. I know that they did share some of those with our SPOCs or, Mitch, Kim, and Ariel, but I don't have that in front of me. But I do think making those personal phone calls really did help us to even reach more families, because some of them we really partner up or say, oh, well, we can offer transportation that they may not have known about. So I do think that's a great question, because we want to break down as many barriers as possible.
Also, for the special PAPS programs, for like the best camp with bilingual, we started early, like in April, identifying who the kids could be, and then we got the whole bilingual translation interpretation machine of the district to connect with the families to let them know this is what you can do, this is how you fill the form, this is what we're going to do, and please feel comfortable that we're going to take good care of your kids during the summer. And that has worked so far.
Yeah, and then the one thing, of course, to point out, which is sometimes difficult, is if a specific program is for a specific group of kids, then it will look inequitable because it's for the specific kids. And I think one of the things that's been interesting about the summer programs is some of those programs are really for specific populations. But I think the question is really well taken, and it's something we need to look at, because the flip side is, let's say we had a program just for kids that were in the bottom 5% of testing, and whoa, all of those are boys. Okay, what's going on, right? And so we need to really look at that from both lenses as well. So, but I really appreciate the question.
Thank you. My last question first to start, are these programs only for in-district students, or are any of them open to students from other districts?
Yeah, so almost all of these are for in-district students, and you really kind of have to be, both the way that the funding works and safety and security. We have talked, so Ebersol, we do allow students from other districts. Usually those districts will rent the space or they'll work with us. We did open up some of the Student Development Center to kids from other districts. They had to, I think, pay a nominal fee or something like that. I would say this publicly, look, I'd love Lansing to take over all the school districts in the area, that's kind of what we should do, right? We're the big district that hopefully is doing great work. I think a lot of these programs, if you're going to do credit recovery at Sexton, you should probably be a Sexton student, but we are looking at ways to bring in other students from around the area, but typically I'd say 95% of it is internal, but things like Student Development Center, like Ebersol, we do open up to other students.
Yeah, and I recognize the funding would be difficult and lots of other things, particularly the school-based programs. But I wonder, as you suggested, enrichment programs, that perhaps in particular Lansing residents who are choosing other districts, or people we're looking at, maybe an enrichment program that we can offer that other districts can't would be something we could target that could perhaps build a relationship that could lead families wondering about the district to take something they don't offer where they're going and find a path back into the district.
Absolutely, and one of the things that we are starting to see is that at Lansing Tech and some of our CTE programs, children in other districts are asking to be part of our programming because we're offering it and other places are not. So we really appreciate that, and I would like to see maybe next summer, if we do now focus on more enrichment programs, how we could open that up to the greater Lansing community, even if their children don't go to Lansing.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Krim? Mr. Krim, and then I'll come back down the line.
To, build off of the total credit requirements, made me think of a question that I had. Since ours are 22, maybe you don't have to answer this now. You can get back to me later, email, whatever. But one thing I was wondering is, what are surrounding districts' requirements if they are below 22 or what have you, and what are their graduation rates? And then also, within our district, how many students are off track because they're not on track to meet that 22 and would be on track for the 18?
So I'll answer with less specifics than I would like, but I will get you specifics when I can. One of the things about having alt-ed programming is that if a child is really off track but can get to 18, one of the things that this district can now do is to say, hey, you're off track, maybe you need to go to the Lansing Learning Hub, maybe you need to go to our alt-ed program because that will help you get what you need. We also have some alternative programs that the individual schools do, and then what we can do is if we say that child got to 18, we feel comfortable with them graduating, then we actually, through the board and through me, can say we allow for this. Where we've also done this actually is kids who want to graduate early for very specific reasons. So we've had kids who are already in college, or kids that are already gone to the military, or kids, there was a kid this year who had a job through the unions that wanted to start their internship. So we're able to do some of that. But in terms of the specifics, I'm happy to get you, but I know that Justin, sorry, you were just going to...
Same.
No, we just said the same word at the same time, which was personalized curriculum, right? So we can specialize for individual students.
And in terms of the graduation rates of other districts, stay tuned till February. We will see. I'm very proud of where we are, but I know that the districts around here also do quite well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lopez?
Just one additional question. The online service, we do get people from out of district, right, on that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we definitely have schools of choice children, right? So we have kids that live in other districts that are part of our online school. We have kids that schools of choice into our schools, into our programs. But I think what would be interesting during the summer is they wouldn't have to necessarily be schools of choice kids. They could just be kids that go to Hazlitt or what have you, but they want to be part of our enrichment program. We could allow that. We would just have to figure legally how can they be part of those programs. Yeah.
Well, because right now we do have kids from other school districts.
Absolutely.
Already.
Yeah, yeah, through, so the Schools of Choice program, you could live in, let's say, Bath,
Right.
and you say, I want to go to whatever, Post Oak, it's right down the street, and then there's forms, and they just fill it out, and it's all good. Yeah.
Right. Well, I know that districts put a limit on how many that they might want to bring in for schools of choice. But we don't have that problem.
Nope, anybody listening, send us your children. We're happy to serve, so.
Thank you.
Dr. Rodriguez?
Thank you, President. You mentioned the new curriculum. I think that we need to know the new curriculum ourselves. Then, if we can have some kind of presentation in the future about what the new curriculum is and how we can be familiar with that, then we know what the parents or what the people ask we can answer to. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I'll turn it to Jess. But, there was a really long and involved and very deep process around these, and I think it would be really helpful. We've talked about it a little bit, but, I could imagine either an ISS or even just a presentation around it. I know Jess has talked about it quite a bit, but I really appreciate the question because we want everybody to know about it because that way we can support it too. So, but I don't know, Jess, if you want to talk about it.
And also we can present that to the other schools and the whole thing, because what we are teaching is is important for because when I ran, I said our students, our future. Our curriculum today prepare our students for the future.
No.
Yeah, we would love to come and present about the curriculum. We can present on the current ELA curriculum, which is brand new this year, CKLA for our kindergarten through 8th grade, and then for my perspectives, 9 through 12. And then currently we are piloting for our math curriculum, which we will adopt next year. And then we also have our current Amplify Science, which we adopted last year. So we would love to come and give you the gamut of our core areas. And then also to let you know through Instructional Council this year, our focus is on also elective curriculum. So what are we offering in our middle schools primarily, and curriculum that fits the wide offerings that we now have, now that we've gone to the K-8 kind of middle school model. So we would be happy to come in and share
I'm so
that.
glad that you mentioned them. I think this board is supposed also to support and approve the new curriculum. And we had to do that, but also, not now, not tomorrow, no, who knows when, what kind of the staff development we are having for the new curriculum.
Absolutely.
But, that is an open Pandora box, and I don't want that. Okay, thank you very much.
In fact, we were very thoughtful about that, so I can share a little bit about that. Just having been a teacher in the district, oftentimes we would adopt a curriculum, you'd have one professional development, and you're like, ta-da, you should be great at it. We know that that's not true. And so some of the things that we have been offering that the district is really proud of is we have been offering coaching throughout the school year from each of the adoption phases. So for example, this week, past week, Kavanaugh, we went in, we had our Amplify Science coaches come in, and they coached in science, even though that was 2 curriculums ago. So we have ongoing coaching from the actual companies. And then, for example, with the ELA curriculum this year for each of our DPPD days, so there's 8 of those over the course of the year, we will be focusing on the ELA curriculum each of those times, along with math. So we've really built those in content area. So I would be really pleased to share our PD plan with all of you because it's a very thoughtful approach. And then also, not to steal thunder from Sergio, but they've done a wonderful job with our SE interventions and also our EL program. So we don't want to forget that as well. So we kind of have to work hand in hand with the curriculum adoptions that we do. Wonderful question, because our staff have to be supported to implement the curriculum.
Thank you. Mr. Lopez?
Yes. So this new curriculum, when do we expect it?
So the English curriculum started this year. The science curriculum started last year, and the math curriculum will start next year. And this is the first time in a long time that we've had kind of new full curriculum. But Jess probably, I was not here the last time you did this. But what's nice is, and I really am very appreciative of the instructional council, is we've had so many teachers and leaders go through a year of piloting, sometimes even 2 years of piloting, really looking at the stuff. So the CKLA, that's the English curriculum, that started this year in full. We had piloted it previously. And then the math, we're piloting right now, and then we're going to have a full adoption next year. So I think what would be really nice is maybe sometime in ISS in the spring or something, is we could tell you, here's the CKLA, we're almost a year through, this is what's going on. Here's the math, we're going to be starting it next year. So, I mean, I'll work with Jess on that, but I think that would be a really good presentation.
My question really is, how are we going to infuse this with the multicultural concept that we passed?
I am so glad you asked. So, you know, in fact, that's one of the meetings we were just having last week, is that what's really nice, especially about the CKLA program, is that there's already kind of an equity lens, but it allows us to really use the new thoughts about multicultural education that we're hopefully going to be unveiling and having our committee and all of that. So what's nice is these programs really will dovetail with the work that we're doing. The lens in which the teachers looked at when they were even grading which curriculum to choose had an equity lens grade so that you could make sure that it was going to align. So it's great, and I really look forward to very soon really presenting to the board the first steps in our multicultural work as well.
Thank you.
Was Go Math the last math curriculum? Okay. And I was just going to add, I really love what Dr. Rodriguez said. I think it'd be very powerful for us as a board to have it, and then everybody can sort of see district-wide. A friend of mine has a child in a different district, and they do something called curriculum night. So after, you know, the back-to-school open house, and that's when you get your list, you can do all that stuff. A couple weeks into school, everything kind of slows down. Then they have curriculum night, and that's when the parents can actually, you know, because your brain isn't thinking of that when you're trying to get your kids' list and find their locker and do all that stuff, and then later bring them in and do these curriculum nights. I think that might be helpful as well. So just adding that. All right. Thank you guys very much for the presentation. Appreciate it. Next on the agenda, yes.
Yes.
Next on the agenda would be public comment on non-agenda items. Alex, do we have anybody? Bueller? Okay, great, wonderful. Next would be comments from the board, colleagues. Ooh, may I have a motion to adjourn? It's been moved by Ms. Williams, supported by Dr. Rodriguez. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0, and at 7:37, we are adjourned.